There's so many different things that you can use.
If go unchecked, have potential to become full-blown mental health issues.
People who spend more time on Facebook suffer higher rates of depression than people who spend less time on Facebook. It'll destroy relationships, it'll cost time, and it'll cost money, and it'll make your life worse.
To be human means that you are persuadable in every single moment. It doesn't matter what language you speak, it doesn't matter how intelligent you are. It's not about what someone knows, it's about how your mind actually works.
We now know that many of the major social media companies hire individuals called attention engineers who borrow principles from Las Vegas casino gambling, among other places, to try to make these products as addictive as possible.
We are all vulnerable to social approval. We really care what other people think of us. When you upload a new photo of yourself on Facebook, that's a moment where our mind is very vulnerable to knowing what other people think of my new profile photo. And so when we get new likes on our profile photo, Facebook, knowing this, could actually message me and say, oh, you have new likes on your profile photo. It knows that we'll be vulnerable to that moment because we all really care about when we're tagged in a photo or when we have a new profile photo. I mean, I think we can all feel it. And it's as if we've been infected. It's if they've drilled a hole in the back of our head and now they've injected the virus and now we walk around searching for feedback using social media.
We know that engagement with social media and our cell phones releases a chemical called dopamine. Dopamine is the exact same chemical that makes us feel good when we smoke, when we drink, and when we gamble. In other words, it's highly, highly addictive. You have an entire generation that has access to an addictive, numbing chemical called dopamine through social media and cell phones as they're going through the high stress. They don't have the coping mechanisms to deal with stress. So when significant stress starts to show up in their lives, they're not turning to a person, they're turning to social media. They're turning to these things which offer temporary relief. We know, the science is clear, we know that people who spend more time on Facebook suffer higher rates of depression than people who spend less time on Facebook. That's a problem. That's an addiction. If you're sitting in a meeting with people you're supposed to be listening to and speaking, and you put your phone on the table, you're just not that important to me. Right? So you have an addicted generation that doesn't have the skill set to ask for help. Combined with the fact that they're so good at Facebook and Instagram, they're good at putting filters on everything. So they're good at showing you how smart and strong they are. These kids who commit suicide, you go look at their Instagrams, you would have no clue that they were depressed.
People look like they have a much better life than they really do. People are posting pictures of when they're really happy. They're modifying those pictures to be better looking. People basically seem they're way better looking than they basically really are, and they're way happier seeming than they really are. So if you look at everyone on Instagram, you might think, they're all these happy, beautiful people, and I'm not that good looking and I'm not happy, so I must suck. Some of the happiest seeming people, actually some of the saddest people in reality.
Social media isn't real, but you don't ever see real life, the 99% of our lives, the behind the scenes, the unglamorous, unfiltered, day-to-day, bland normality. And you end up comparing your behind the scenes to other people's fake highlight reel and using others as a mirror or benchmark for how you should look, how successful you should be, or how you should live. You'll become your happier self when you stop putting pressure on yourself to be more like someone else.
And they know that this causes depression. They're injecting things into your head that you didn't ask for. Our lives are becoming more transparent, just inevitably, it's just pulling us.
I'm fat. Wow, I'm fat. She's only 19 years old? What am I doing with my life? Hey, 2 likes, nice. Do I like this photo? Does she really need more likes? Hey, I hope I'm gonna be invited to the wedding. What, 1 more like, nice. Welcome to the internal monologue of a typical social media scroll. A monologue that so many of us have every day, but we don't think about, we don't talk about it. In fact, many of us can't even recognize it happening. Me. What was it doing to everyone else? Well, I immediately found out I wasn't alone. The Center for Collegiate Mental Health found that the top 3 diagnoses on university campuses are anxiety, depression, and stress. And numerous studies from the US, Canada, the UK, you name it, have linked this high social media use with these high levels of anxiety and depression. But the scary thing is that high social media use is almost everyone I know. It's my friends, it's my family, my colleagues. 90% of 18 to 29-year-olds are on social media. We spend on average 2 hours a day there. We don't even eat for 2 hours a day. 70% of the Canadian population is on social media. Our voter turnout isn't even 70%. Anything we do this often is worthy of critical observation. Anything we spend this much time doing has lasting effects on us. This is changing our sense of identity. We are tying up our self-worth with what others think about us, and then we're quantifying it for everyone to see. And we're obsessed. We have to get that selfie just right, and we will take 300 photos to make sure. And then we'll wait for the perfect time to post. What if going on social every day was a terrifying experience, where you not just questioned your self-worth, but you questioned your safety? Online harassment. 80% of online adults have experienced online harassment. 73% have witnessed it. And the unfortunate reality is that it is much worse and much more likely if you're a woman, LGBTQ, person of color, Muslim. I think you get the point. The problem is that in the news, we're seeing these big stories. We see these stories once it's too late. But what about the everyday online harassment? And so it's just one photo. It's funny. It's just one mean comment. It's not a big deal. But when these micro moments happen over and over again over time, that's when we have a macro problem.
So, Casey, you are obsessed with Facebook, and you're using it way too much during work for personal activity, and that's
inappropriate. I have used the social media for business. I found Tammy on Facebook. And what about Brittany? I found Brittany.
It's essential to know whether it's professional or personal, and we have to keep it professional in the office. So we should create a policy.
Be associated with our company. When I'm doing it for myself, I do it at home after hours.
I don't think they heard you because they're on social media devices.
No more social media devices.
Campaign is actually really, really cool. It's called It's Time, and it's all about being efficient with your time.
Over the past 48 hours, our site has gone viral. We went from 48 Facebook followers yesterday to 48,000 today. The YouTube campaign I posted to this, 2 million views. All I did was put together a simple algorithm. What we did is we looked at who was clicking on the links from their Facebook profiles, then we went to their friends and all the people with the similar demographics. From there I started spreading it and had exponential growth that was limitless. That's what made us go viral, was just telling the truth and getting the message to the people.
So you just have to be careful about what you're posting and how much you really want to get out there.
I have a 30-minute Twitter rule. If I feel really passionate or emotional about something, I wait half an hour before I post it on Twitter. Once it's out there, you can't get it back.
It's very important to give yourself time for meals, to give yourself time to sleep, to give yourself a little bit of downtime, a little bit of time on Facebook, whatever it is, a little time at the gym. Otherwise, you're going to burn yourself out, and then you're not going to be using your time well.
We're becoming more connected. We're becoming more empathetic. We're becoming more fearless. I'd like to share a different perspective. What if the person I was connecting with on the phone was standing in front of me? Would you interrupt our conversation? Could we reimagine that our online connections are just as meaningful as our face-to-face ones, and that these online connections could help develop empathy. What would make people who hadn't even met me reach out with such warmth and compassion? Could it be that social media may in fact encourage empathy? Well, as a psychologist and a researcher, I wanted to test this hypothesis. So I conducted an experiment. I gave over 400 people an empathy question. I asked them questions like, sometimes I try to understand my friends better by imagining how things look like from their perspective. Another question, when I'm upset at someone, I try to put myself in their shoes for a while. I also asked them about their social media use in two ways. One, in personal use. How often do they spend time chatting, sending comments, commenting on their friends' photos? And impersonal use. How often do they share links, use the apps on social media? Here's what I found. That people who spent more time connecting and engaging with the personal use activities were more empathetic. When we take a moment to actually engage with someone directly on social media, we have a chance to practice and experience empathy more. What if social media is damaging our cognitive skills? It's overloading us with information, depleting our memory, and affecting our learning as a result. You might even say it's the elephant in the room. It's the topic we're scared to talk about. Like this elephant. But you know, an elephant isn't just a symbol for topics to avoid. It's also celebrated for its excellent memory. And it's this side of social media that I would like to talk about today. That perhaps social media could help improve our memory, especially our working memory. You can think of working memory like your brain's conductor. In the same way that a conductor brings harmony to an orchestra, working memory is the cognitive skill we use to bring order to the myriad of information around us. We use it to process information, prioritize what's important, and ignore what isn't. This is an especially crucial skill when it comes to social media because of the constant stream of incoming information. I tested over 100 high schoolers to find the answer. I discovered that high schoolers who spent over a year using social media were adept at transferring this cognitive skill to the test we gave them. They had higher working memory scores compared to those who used it for less time. And when I looked at all the different social media activities, it was checking friends' updates that was most linked to better cognitive skills. Why? Well, social media is a selection process. We have to quickly decide how to prioritize and ignore information, and when we spend time checking friends' updates, we get a chance to learn by doing this more. So maybe over time, our memory could look a little bit more like the elephant's. Another fear that we have is that our brain is getting sidelined, that we can't focus our attention on the person in front of us because of the constant demands by social media. We used to use our brain like a spotlight, focusing on one thing at a time. I call this the spotlight brain. But today's world isn't like that. It's hard to use a spotlight brain to stay on top of all the tweets, the updates, the notifications, and we miss noticing important information. A classic psychology experiment illustrates the spotlight brain. Participants were shown a video of people passing a ball, and they were asked to count the number of ball passes. Now, halfway through the video, a man shows up in an animal costume. At the end of the video, participants are asked the number of ball passes, and they're also asked, did they notice anything unusual? Because of the spotlight brain, many of them missed noticing the man in the animal costume. Social media has changed our attention. Now, we use it like a floodlight. We can focus on more than one thing at a time. I call this the floodlight brain. In the same way that you can take a phone call while cooking, you can listen to me talk while watching these fantastic UNF basketball players.
So all of these people pictured. They want to say that they're like their authentic selves. I would just say being your authentic self is just not really caring what other people think and just attracting those who are meant to be in your life.
And to showing them like, oh yeah, I'm actually just like happy who I am and like proud of who I am. And that's what was like really, really great to see.
Oftentimes we're so fixated on how many likes or follows we get on social media, but that's not really what matters. What matters is who you are as a person.